But it seems like there was so much asset inside that company when it comes to the real estate that it was non-reflective of the share prices.
Okay.
And just from
that's very, very much the case on asset-rich, property-rich companies on balance sheets when they're normally valued at purchase or cost. And if you have them 5, 10, 20 years, I mean, the real estate has gone up in value. And it's even more reflective of the dichotomy in true value in public companies, because the public company hopefully is selling at a premium to cost, but very often asset-rich companies are selling at a discount. So your analysis is probably very close to being accurate.
But even in that case, it doesn't make sense to buy them other than the whole public to private consolidation thing.
Okay. Well,
even though we think there may still be some room for the value to go up after acquisition.
Okay. Well, that's fine. I'm just giving you a blanket comment on valuation of hard assets. Whereas hard assets that are like machinery assets are quite often overvalued, because I mean something that you would cost $1 million to buy new, when you buy it used, or the used value is a fraction thereof, although it's still valued at a higher price on the balance sheet, even if you depreciated it, because until you depreciate it down to zero, it still may or may not be worth what the valuation is. So, but your analysis is still right, even though with all the value that could be attributed to the property, the hard assets, it still would be difficult and not worth a public to private. Okay, so I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. And the Pixar thing is a classic B school case. It's 10 years old, and there's all kinds of history behind it. Be interesting to see what you come up with.
Dan, I have a question about the COO thing. Two of them are still working for competitors. So for
That's
one,
a conflict.
But can we tell the banks that we have someone lined up who's ready to jump on board as COO once we close the first acquisition?
Well, if the banker's got half a brain, he's going to ask you who. And if he's working for a competitor, unless you get a release, you can't tell him. So I mean, that's a quandary. I mean, the bank wants to know, or the financial institution wants to know that you got somebody that's able to run this thing or assist in running it, but you can't tell them who that is. And I'm not suggesting that we would mislead anybody, but if they're working for somebody else, that's a direct conflict. And what does the COO say, or potential COO say about it?
Well, they are looking for their next opportunity, and I've looked at all the retired candidates from relatively well-known operators, and what happens is they have very strict non-compete even after they have retired, so they can't work for someone else. Whereas this pool that I'm currently reaching out are people between 45 to 55. They are kind of hitting that ceiling of mid-age management, trying to move up to SVP, but got stuck in a VP situation. So they are just looking for the next career move. They don't have as much restrictions. If they want to move on to the next job, they don't have a non-compete.
Yeah, but I mean, you say that, Kira, but let's say they don't, but when they get ready to leave and they get ready to get their final package, and they probably got money in the pension plan, etc., as part and parcel of them getting that out, the company's going to say, here's your release. And when they flip through the release, it's going to say you can't compete for 1 to 5 years.
But they move around from job to job. My understanding is
just ask them. Just to be sure. Can you? The chairman would like to see what you believe the release agreement is going to look like.
So that will be a question we would ask.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Okay.
And how long have they been at their current place?
5-6 years.
Okay. And no. No, these guys aren't from these are operational guys that aren't from accounting firms and law firms.
Yeah,
Okay.
they are on the ground operations.
It may work out, but I mean, better safe than sorry. It's better to ask the questions than not ask the questions. The interview we did last year, one of the kids at the hardcore, I mean, the guy was really hot to trot. This was the CEO position. And when push came to shove, contrary to what he thought, the company, he'd already left the other company. The company, but he was getting paid. And the other company said that they would not give him a release to go work for a competitor. And they didn't even have an agreement. But we said, you're getting paid by them, some severance, like for a year or two, whatever it is. Well, you have an obligation. And he said, well, I'm almost positive that they won't say that I can't compete. And then when he asked them, they said, no, you cannot compete. We're not paying you your salary for 18 months for you to go fucking compete against us. So depending on what their severance is, it's a lot easier, unfortunately, when they get fired, unless they get fired for cause. But when they get fired, and then, because normally when they throw you out the door, when they fire you, they normally don't give you a severance package. But severance packages are normally associated with some sort of non-compete. In this country, they call them gardening leave. They expect you to go putter around in your garden. I think they're called gardening leave or something like that. And for sure, if you get on garden leave, you have non-compete. You have a non-compete.
So our strategy is to get 2 or 3 of these guys. Since we're not. Well, since these kind of bullshit might happen down the road, so
but I mean, you want to eliminate. You don't want it to. We're not getting 3 of the guys just so we have somebody to fall back on. We don't want to have to fall back on it. We want to know that there's no fucking non-compete clause with them, and they should be able to answer it. But you'll be surprised. Not many people ask those questions, and then normally they say, "Oh yeah, I'll be able to get back to you. I'll check." As soon as they ask their in-house lawyer will, if he's not familiar with the contract or the severance contract, will then go and take a look at it. And when they take a look at it, they say, no, I mean, we're paying you for, if they're paying them, absolute, there's a non-compete. If they're not paying them, then, there still may be a non-compete, but there's a higher probability that they can work at something else. And, but it also depends on what projects they're working on. They may have, let's say they're heading up a new patent or whatever the fuck it is. Well, yeah, you can work on everything except that. And that may be the very reason why you're hiring them. And then you don't find out until the other company files suit for tortious interference with the contract, my famous lawsuit. And the reason I know so much about it is because I've been involved on both sides of these several times over the many years. That means you're interfering directly or indirectly, tortious interference, with a contract, either implied or real. And I mean, you can construe the shit that covers everything. That's why it's there. Because they were trying to cover everything with as few words. But as soon as you say tortious interference, I mean, anybody that's a reasonably seasoned executive will know exactly what the fuck you're talking about. And, but we'll find out. We'll talk to the guy.
And so what's the best thing to tell the bank that we do have someone lined up? We just can't tell them who it is.
So tell me the exact question from the bank. What are they asking? Or if they have,
who's going to be taking care of the operations? You mentioned there will be scale and efficiency. Who's going to be on the ground taking care of all the operations once you acquire these facilities?
So that's what they've asked. Or no, that's what you're anticipating they're going to ask.
I've been asked that before.
Okay. Well, tell me exactly how they asked it.
Who's going to be the operations guy?
Okay. Who's going to be the operations guy, or who's going to be running the day-to-day? I mean, or either or both?
I think their perspective is people on your board have investment experience, have closed deals, but most of the time these platform deals fail because they don't have a savvy operations guy overseeing the operations contract and doing regular assessments of the facilities, making sure the operations are running healthy and going up.
Well, I mean, part of that is, I mean, in the answer that I gave at the regular seminar and that I gave a couple of days ago, it's anticipated with the experience of the board, we are going to acquire operations that have seen seasoned executives running their facilities, and we plan on picking one of the seasoned individuals to ultimately run the entire platform, the most sophisticated or experienced, and we won't know that until we have all 3 or 5 or 8 or whatever the acquisition candidates operational for a while.